You gave me a very good segue for just the next talking point here as the Americans in the Champions League. Brendan Aronson, of course, against Timothy Weah. McKennie, Juventus against Chelsea. There's Pifok, of course, with young boys facing Atalanta. John Brooks. We talked about Serginho Dest. We talked about Tyler Adams missed Saturday's game due to injury. So we'll see what happens with Leipzig. And
what makes me worried about that with Tyler Adams is that the team looked excellent without him it makes me nervous because they won 6-0. I mean, Haidara, who was playing Tyler Adams' spot, was, I thought, the man of the match in that game, and he was tremendous. And so,
I mean, if there's somebody
I'm a little concerned.
And if there's somebody that knows Tyler Adams better than anybody, is of course Jesse Marsch as well. So, but Pulisic remains out, Giorena, Stefan as well, all still injured. Anything from that? I know Brendan Aronson, obviously, Timothy Weah, that's an interesting one, but let me ask you this for a second. Just, it's not in our notes, but I am intrigued to. Pulisic is worrying me a little bit right now. It's the continuous injuries issues, and it's kind of, he's out for domestic competition, but then he comes back for international, but then he's out. Does it continue to worry you just how much he's always out?
Yes, it does. I think that was a concern last season where he was getting some momentum and then he got out with a hamstring thing. And I remember being pretty early on in Tuchel's reign of Chelsea, where I think he got hurt in a warm-up, and you could just see his body language was like,
it was frustrated.
Great. Like all of a sudden I'm giving this guy some minutes and he wants to, to prove to me that he should be in the 11, and he can't even get through a warm-up without getting hurt, and yeah, that feels pretty cynical to say it that way. But I would say that the rigors of playing every 3 or 4 days is got to be very tough, especially for a player like Pulisic, who does get kicked a lot, who does attract a lot of attention because he's so good in 1v1 situations. And so it's just that accumulation of all that is going to be tough, especially if you're a little bit little like he is, I'd say, in comparison to some of the other players, and maybe just not as big as some of the other guys. So, but that's part of his strength, right? So it's just tough when and if he's not 100%, we're never going to see the best version of him, because when he's 100%, the guy is lights out. Do you think he should sit out in the World Cup qualifiers just to beneficial for him to just or do you think these qualifiers are too important? But then I'm just thinking long term as opposed to, short term. I'd say on paper, this is probably the best upcoming qualifying window to sit out. We don't play Mexico. We have 2 home games against the 2 bottom teams right now in CONCACAF. We play away to Panama, which he might not get to play in anyway because of the UK regulations, right? So this would probably be the best window to do that. I think they just have to assess and go from there. We've already proven we got some other options that can step up and do the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not a good sign. Very similar to what Tyler Adams, all of a sudden you go out of the lineup and the team starts kicking ass and you're like, oh, we can't survive without that guy,
Forget about me.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's an interesting game to play from both sides, the team perspective and obviously the individual. But yeah, ultimately I'm nervous for him because even if he comes back, I still don't think, and this was a really interesting comment about what Thomas Tuchel said about Tammy Abraham. He's like, I don't trust him the way that I trust the other players. And that has got to be hard to hear as a player, that when your coach is saying that about you. And I get the sense about Pulisic. I don't know if he trusts him as a starter. I think he trusts him, but I think he trusts him more as a super sub, because when Pulisic does come on, he does change games.
Of course.
When he gets the ball and runs at you and you've got tired legs, you're toast. I mean, you're toast more often than not when it's starting the game he starts. But imagine if you have 60 minutes on your legs. But
the problem is 80% of success is showing up, and you have to play. You got to just be there and show consistency. So it'll be something to definitely monitor in this one.